Okay, welcome everybody to the Get Paid to Live podcast. I'm joined with another beautiful guest today. Her name is Celia, and she's a good friend of mine. Today, we are going to be talking about, I feel like all things failure, mistakes, perfectionism, all the above, all the things, all of them. That is something I feel as a newer entrepreneur, a creative, just somebody who's like trying to chase their dream life. Those are all things you will face and go through. And I feel like it's not that you won't overcome it, but when you don't recognize what the problem is or where it's coming from, those mindsets can take you in a different direction and actually lead you away from your goal in your dream life. So I thought it was a pretty important topic to bring up. And today we're going to be joined by Celia, who is a YouTuber. She's a creative, I'm going to say director.
Thank you.
I'm going to say director, good friend of mine. We both met on a freelancing platform called Contra. She also works for them. And we both heavily related on this topic together. And her YouTube channel is literally all about kind of defeating the perfectionistic take that a lot of us tend to just like inherit from society. So I'm really excited to get into that and like talk all about it. For anyone who's new, I'm usually joined with my fiance Shaheen, but he's not with us today. Makes it sound like he's dead. I mean, he's just not. He's just not.
That way of phrasing it made it sound like
he's just not here physically with us right now, but he is going to be back on our next episode. So don't worry if you haven't seen him in a while. But if you're new to this podcast and this is your first time listening, this is the Get Paid to Live podcast. This is a space where we explore how to live first and get paid second. Whether you're an entrepreneur, you work for someone else, or you're just curious about creating a dream life. In these episodes, you'll find inspiration, tips, and motivation on how you can navigate that process through our honest reflections as new entrepreneurs and candid interviews with ambitious everyday dreamers just like you and I.
Yeah, no, I love that you said director. I want to add screenwriter. I think we'll dive into this, but I've been gaining more confidence in writing every day and trying to like see it as a self-care ritual and not just something for me to produce, but something that's in my habit and in my routine. So I would say screenwriter as well. YouTuber,
I love that.
Director, screenwriter, anything creative, that would be the way to define me. Yeah.
Awesome. When is the first time you realized like you were meant to do this kind of stuff? Writing, directing, creating, YouTubing, all of it.
I think not consciously, because I think that's something that when you're a kid, you just do it without thinking that this is something that can be a career. Yeah. It's just you start to find enjoyable to film yourself. You find enjoyable to just think up stories, to write poems. It's not like, I want to be this when I grow up. It's just, I'm doing this because I want to do it.
Right.
So it's not attached to money or attached to status. It's just, it comes natural. So for me, it was just like that. Whenever I see videos of myself as a kid, it's just me having fun creating. So I don't think consciously it didn't come up as a child. It came up when I was like a teenager, of like, okay, people actually do this as a living and they create and they film and they do creative stuff. So maybe teenager was more like, that's what I want to do.
Isn't that so pure that like at a time it was never attached to like a job or an outcome or anything? But you know, it's so funny because you basically did it so much that you realized like, maybe I should define this.
Because I think even when you start seeing it as status and like career, that's when you lose a little bit of the energy of creativity. It's like, I need to produce what the market wants and I need to create what the majority of people will like, instead of I want to create what I would like to watch or I would like to read or whatever I would enjoy experiencing as an audience member. So I'm trying to reconnect with that. So like not focusing on what people would want to see on my YouTube channel or on a script that I'm writing, but what I would want to continue doing and creating, because that's where I'm going to spend my time on.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like we are always like, we grow up learning all this information and we're basically trying to like detach over and over again from all the stuff that we accumulated just to get back to where we started. But like with a little bit of more maturity and a little bit more skill, So
Yeah, so like unlearn the block or like the negative side of growing up, and then reconnecting with the joy of creating,
yeah,
knowing that you need discipline also to do it. That's
exactly. No,
yeah.
perfectly put. Okay, so for anyone who isn't familiar with like directing, screenwriting, like what does that mean? Like, what does it entail to be like a screenwriter? Like, what does it look like? I guess on a day to day, even for you or for professionals. I'm not even sure myself.
For me, right now, it means reconnecting because I took it took a long time for me to accept that I'm not professionally doing this, but I can continue writing. And like, if you don't get paid to do something, it like kind of loses the power. It's like if you're not getting paid, it's not worth doing. It's not serious.
Right.
So like trying to see it as, okay, this is part of myself. If someday this becomes the way I get paid, great. But I don't want to lose sight of why we create and why we do these things, to feel alive and to tell stories. So this is my work right now, is to seeing it as, this is just who I am. I try to do it as much as I can, create as much as I can without the outcome in mind,
Yeah. No, I love that. And like, I think, I mean, that's obviously like a lot of points to our episode today.
Yeah.
Like just creating as much as you can. But I love that you said that like it's a part of who you are. And somebody, was it you or somebody told me a quote, or I saw this somewhere, but it was basically, by the way, Delia has all the good quotes. She knows,
Yeah.
she knows.
It's actually going to be about quotes, so get ready for that. I already have this quote, yeah.
The whole episode is just going to be quotes, right?
Probably.
I don't know where I saw this, but it was kind of like as a creative, like these things that you do, whether it's art, music, even if it's like a business or like however you express yourself, like when you are not doing it, like when you're not creating, like a part of you is literally like dormant or stagnant or like dying, like literally dying. And it's like, and that's why you feel so weird when you're not doing it, is because like there's just a part of you that isn't being expressed. And it kind of reminds me of like grief. It's like when you are grieving someone, someone said this and I was like, whoa, like this, whoa, like chills for sure. But it was kind of like grieving is basically a lot of expression that can't go anywhere because you can't.
I know who said that. I know who said that. That's I forgot his name. From Spider-Man and Tick Tick Boom, the actor, Andrew Garfield. So he was saying that grief is unexpressed love. And I think that creation, if you don't express what you want to create, you're grieving a part of yourself.
I know. Isn't that so like, that was deep. And I just felt like that makes so much sense because I like, even for me, like there was 2 years or I would say a year and a half where I just wasn't creating content. I wasn't putting it out. We'll talk about that. Like our failures when it comes to like content creation and YouTube and stuff. But like when I wasn't creating, I just felt like everything was like kind of boring. Like life didn't really have a lot of meaning. And I think that's because literally a part of me just had nowhere to express itself. And it felt like it was either like kind of in a box or that it was just deteriorating. It was dying. And I think what scares me the most is to know that maybe some people let it die their whole life. Like that's what's so frightening to think about.
That's like my mindset right now. That's literally that. Like, don't let it die. Whatever your professional life looks like, whatever your day-to-day looks like, let creativity be a part of it. Because that's when you're connected to what you love, the joy that you had as a child, and doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, just create, just do it, and then you'll feel connected to yourself. That's my mindset right now.
Right. And it's literally like, not to make it so mundane, but like it's literally like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. Like you have
it's self-care.
It's self-care 100%. Like you need to do it. That's I like thinking about it through that lens because it makes it less optional. I think when people think about their dream life and they're like, oh, I would love to do this, I would love to do that, and I'm like, a lot of things they're saying sometimes when they talk about their dream life are like as simple as like, I want to just take a walk in the middle of the day, or I just want to like sew my favorite sweaters and scarves and stuff like that. And it's like, what if that was something just like brushing your teeth? Like, what could you create from that if you just did it like every single day, seeing it through that lens? Not like create every day, like I have to do this because I'm getting paid, but like create every day because this is how I stay alive. This is how I stay myself. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what the world would look like if everybody was doing that, you know?
Oh, yeah. That's
Insane.
actually like I was talking to my therapist and she was like, just imagine the mindset you have right now if you had this like 5, 6 years ago, all the things that you could have created and you missed because you were too worried about like your identity, how you show up, how you express, like you were just thinking too much instead of like
God, that's
putting
so
your
true.
energy in let's create, I
I
could have created
know.
more. It doesn't mean I could have created better. I don't care
Right.
about quality. It just means I would create it more and my life would have been more involved with creation. So now I'm trying to make up for the time lost.
No, I know. I don't. Okay, so that makes me think of like your YouTube channel, which I
Yeah.
love, by the way, because I feel like it speaks to this very idea of creating more without all of the pressure. And even if there is the pressure, you're not letting it stop you. So, like, kind of like summarize your journey on YouTube. And then I want to know what your YouTube channel it represents for you right now, like in this time of your life, you know?
Okay, so I have 3 timelines on YouTube. My first timeline was a YouTube channel in Spanish. And in this one, I was trying to be like those high energy YouTubers that I was like talking about pop stuff, which I love talking about like cultural stuff, movies, music, but not like super high energy, more like let's reflect. I can be a fangirl, but not all the time. So I was like trying to emulate the high energy YouTubers that I would watch. And I would feel so drained after filming. I was like, I cannot keep this up. Like, I feel like I don't have any more energy after filming for like a half an hour. And then I did the opposite. Like, I changed my direction completely. And then I tried to be this philosophical YouTuber, really like Nathaniel Drew style in Spanish as well. And I was really like rigid filming. Like, I was trying to be like, I'm very serious. I want to
Oh, yeah.
create, super
Yeah.
outside. And I was like, okay, I'm also draining myself from this. Like, high energy drains me, being super serious drains me. So I was like, nothing feels authentic. And then I took a break for like 2 years, 3 years. So like my last YouTube channel was in 2021.
Okay.
Took a break and then came back this year with the mindset of first, let's do it in English. Because for me, speaking in English creates a second identity or like an identity that's more outspoken. Because for me, learning English was becoming more confident at school. It meant like learning another culture, learning about the world. So for me, speaking English is like I create like a persona, but it's also connected to me. So like a more confident version, an alter ego of myself.
Yeah.
So that was my first decision. And then I'm always like the title of my YouTube channel is Between Fiction and Reality, which is where my brain usually lays during the day. So like I'm either thinking a lot about my reality and trying to analyze and take the most out of my day and trying to be really connected with life. Or I'm thinking about storytelling, movies, creating things in my mind. So that's where my title comes from. And right now, the mindset that I have is let's create as much as we can. Let's not think who's watching, why are they watching, what they will think of me, what the people around me will think. That's something that really stopped me before. Like, oh, what if I talk about this? What will they think? What if I talk like this? What will they think? So right now it's trying to take down the layers of pressure, like external pressure, and just creating for myself. And if I feel proud of a video, that's the win.
I love that. You know what's so weird that I like whenever I saw Between Fiction and Reality, I immediately thought of like fiction is kind of like the dream life.
Yeah.
And then reality is kind of like the day to day of like creating that dream life, which tends to look a lot different than the fairy tales in our head sometimes. And I loved that you were saying like you're between the both of them because it's kind of like you're walking the path from the reality. But I didn't know that it stemmed from this, like almost kind of like with movies too, you know, like you're somewhere in between like writing and thinking. And I'm assuming that's what you kind of do as a screenwriter. And then also like the realities of like life and, you know, kind of, I picture you very like philosophical and like, you know, like a thinker. So you're always like thinking like logically about things. So I didn't know that that was the connection. So that's just like really interesting. How did you get into this? Like, to me, like you were saying earlier, it seems like it is a very much like status thing. How does a person even get into that world? And like I recently myself have seen people talk about screenwriting more often, and I was like, and they're like getting paid to do it, and they're not famous yet or like whatever. And so I'm like, how do you even start something like that from like I'm in a small town I wouldn't have started
Yeah.
producing. And maybe like, how have you done it? Like even in your career?
I think for screenwriting, you have like several paths. You could go to like production companies and just present the scripts you have
Okay.
and pitch them and try to get them to produce it. It is hard for you to get in the door if people don't know you.
Yeah.
So another way is presenting your script to like contests. And then if you can gain money from that, maybe you save that to produce a short film or to produce something that you didn't have money before to do it. So you have several paths, but it's for screenwriters, it's the best way I think is to have a lot of scripts so that you can present them. And if one doesn't hit well, then you can say, oh, I have another one. Oh, I also have another one. So you don't always rely on just one. Like Greta says, Greta Gerwig, like create more so you can have a lot of options and don't like focus just on one story because then you're not gonna develop all the writing skills you can. Try to like work on different ones, like go from one to another. And also that helps you not get short-sighted of like, this has to really work. Like this film has to really be perfect, but rather, okay, I have this 4 scripts. Okay, this one's working really well here. This one's not working really well. I'm going to move to the other one. Like have options when creating.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a numbers game, like with it seems
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
Like
no, it's like you need to have like the networking skills, which I still yet to learn, and then you have to have enough scripts to be able to offer options to the people who are reading them. Because if you only have one, then you cannot show that you actually have the ability to write. Because if they only get one script and that's not the best representation of how you can write, then you're not getting any other opportunities. So just have a variety of scripts to show.
Right. Okay, that's really interesting. And then, did you study this material in school, or has it kind of just been like on your free time, like that you've really developed the craft?
I studied audiovisual communication as like my first degree. I'm doing now humanities to also like dive more deeply into philosophy and history.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense now.
And I didn't specialize in script writing, and this also connects to me being really blocked in terms of like my own expression. So I didn't think I could be writing because I didn't think my stories would matter. And that's something that connects to like how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your creativity. So I studied more towards like filming and being behind the camera and not so much writing the stories. In hindsight, I feel like I should have done screenwriting, and something that I'm trying to redirect myself into learning and practicing more. So yeah, everything comes at a time, but I think screenwriting was my true passion, but I was too afraid to pursue that.
Yeah, but you are now. So
Yeah, work
you
in
are.
progress.
That's a work in progress. No, I mean, it's really hard to, especially as a creative person, like I can't even emphasize, which we're going to talk about, like how there isn't just one path to it. So it's very overwhelming to know which one is good for you, especially when you're like in your early 20s and you're like, okay, which one should I pick? And people kind of put that pressure, like this is going to be your job, it's going to make you money, so you need to pick the right. Like there's so many avenues, but there's so much pressure at the same time. Like I feel like you're bound to ignore the play, ignore the childishness, ignore the fun, because you're like, I need to do something now. And it's like, it makes that decision 10 times harder, when in reality, like we're going to talk about today, I think we have to kind of go backwards and be like, hey, actually, I do need to listen to all of these crazy, wild ideas, even if they fail, even if they're not good. Like, I think a lot of us start off with this, like, pick the right thing. We have to be pressured to do the right thing. And then we get to the point where we did the right thing, right? And then now we're like, okay, what else? Or we're kind of in a situation where we're like, this is okay, but what about everything else I like? Or what about all the other options that I'm into? And then we're in a situation where I feel like we're like, okay, let's actually give that part of us like the room to thrive. Like, let's get curious about that part that we've been putting away for so long and that we keep trying to like suppress, or we keep trying to reroute, and it won't go away, obviously.
No, never goes away.
It never goes away. And I think that's an indicator. If it's not going away, then you want to do it and you should listen to it. And like the biggest fallacy when it comes to creating is we have this idea in our mind that the people that do it right, or the people that are successful or have made it or have reached a certain level, they just have some level of brilliance or skill or excellence that we just don't have. And I think especially as beginners, we look at ourselves and we look at where they are, And instead of saying like, oh, we're all starting from the same place. Like they want to make movies, I want to make movies. They want to be a singer, I want to be a singer. Like it's coming from the same intention. Instead of kind of looking at it from that pure angle, we look at it from like, they've just got something I don't have. And when we say that, I feel like it's kind of implying that they have something right. I don't have something right. I have something wrong. And I need to get right so that I can have what they have. And then we fail to see their entire timeline, the whole journey that they went through, where they started, and we try to jump to where they are or jump to what we see as the right way to do things. And then I think that leads us into this like hustle, grind, no fun, be super serious, and like no mistakes. You got to choose one thing, you got to do it right, and you got to like hustle and grind at that. When I think, just like in our episode we talked about play, I think the ironic part is that you need to get out as much as you can instead of trying to repress and stick to one thing. I think you need to like get all of these scripts, get all of these like videos or whatever it is that you want to do. Just get it out of your system so that you have information to actually work with. Again, that's the same situation. We're like trying to pick something when we've never even tried it before. We don't even know what it looks like. And I think we get into this like issue where we're like, oh, we get like jealous and envious and like this person's lucky. I don't know how they got there, when it's like they're probably just a little bit more willing to fail in the process.
Yeah, it's like we're searching for an idea of perfection or what we think perfection is.
Yeah.
And then we are reading our process as, oh, I shouldn't be making mistakes, or I shouldn't be editing this video this way because this person that I really admire edits this way, or this person that I really look up to works this way. So it's like we're comparing the chapter of someone that's like in level 87 and they've been working for 10 years, 20 years, whatever. And then we're here and trying to be here. So our mind disassociates from the process. And I think it's a disservice to how joyful creating can be and how lucky we are to have time to spend it creating instead of thinking I need to reach X, Y, and Z because this person that I admire has reached X, Y, and Z. Yeah,
I know. And it's like I think that's an important point. Like actually being grateful for the time that you can fail. Like my fiance tells me this all the time. Like one thing that he used to say when I would make a lot of TikToks and they would flop, like they would get low views and, TikTok, I feel like sometimes there's certain videos TikTok pushes out, sometimes it doesn't push out. So like, it's really random. It's very a numbers game on that platform. And I'd be like, oh my God, this flopped. Like, it's so embarrassing. It sucks. Or I would just make it mean something. He's like, well, you didn't flop if no one saw it. Like, if no one saw it, then what mistake did you actually make? And it's like, all you can do is learn from that. Like, maybe that wasn't as attention grabbing. Maybe that was a little too long, or like you will start to develop like some kind of conclusion, right? But I think the real point is that there is kind of like a benefit to not being super successful right away. And I think we ignore that too. The people that we admire, I talked about it with you, but I was saying how whenever I see someone on YouTube or a creator that I really admire, I'm like, oh my God, like, they have so much success. They made it to this many followers, blah, blah, blah. I go back to their oldest video. Like I train myself to go back to their oldest video just so I can check myself and be like, okay, to get to this 1 million followers, it took them 10 years. It took this person 5 years to get to 100K. It took this person 6 years to get to 50K. I don't know. Like they're all random, and you'll actually be surprised if you go back to your favorite YouTubers, TikTokers, whoever, and see how long it took them. Even artists like singers. Oh my God, that's like a whole other level. But the point is like you see that they've had that time to make mistakes and fail. Like they had to go through that to fail, and you're probably just in your period where you get to fail and make mistakes. And like, thank God, maybe one of their older videos didn't go viral because maybe they said something that was outlandish and would have got canceled, or maybe that video was so embarrassing and people would have laughed at them, but no one knows about it. No one saw it. So like, there is like a beauty in that like slow period where nothing's happening. Things are picking up. Like you are allowed more mistakes because not a lot of people are seeing it. And it's actually a good thing. I don't know what I saw, but I was like looking at Rosalia, the singer. I was looking at her history or watching a video about her or something. And she's been doing this for a long time. Like, I just did not
Yes,
realize.
she started studying, I think, music at 14. And then she actually did the music degree of like studying full college degree for music. And then her like final year project, that's her first album. Like the project she did at university, that's El Marquerer, that's her first album. And she started it at university. So like something that is a learning curve ended up being like her first project out into the world. And she's always saying, like in any interview I hear from her, she's always saying like, I'm always trying to learn. Whenever I'm in a room with people that are smarter than me, or whenever I'm in a new place, I'm always trying to see, okay, what can I learn from this person? What can I learn? Not like thinking you already know something because you're in a position of success as she is. But rather being the person that's always trying to improve themselves, learn, and always thinking, I don't know nothing. I'm just here to learn. I think that's a great place to like be creatively open to learning.
Always learning, because I think when you see stories like that, because I think she's in her early 30s now, right?
Yeah, 29, 30, I think, yeah.
So that's a long time from like 14 to like 29, like doing this music thing. And I was watching Hot Ones with the guy with chicken wings. He was talking about she, I didn't know what this was, but she was a flamenco singer, I think. For like 10 years, and she would work at these bars and restaurants and get paid with food sometimes. Like that's what
we don't see. Like that's the behind the scenes, and we only see like, okay, that album that gained 5 Grammys or whatever, but we don't see like, okay, this person literally, she also, that's something that's not like international, but she also went to a singing contest and didn't get in, and like her reaction to the judges who were like criticizing her was like, okay, please tell me what I'm doing wrong because I want to learn. So even then, when she was like exposed to an audience, like exposed on TV, she was like, okay, tell me what I'm not doing well because I want to learn. She was, I think she's 15, 16, like at the beginning of her learning period. And she was like, okay, tell me what I'm not doing well so I can learn and have information to improve.
Yeah, no, and I love that like mindset, because it's so, I think any creative knows like that's a hard mindset to keep, like, because there are times when you are failing and you're wondering why it's not working out for you, you're not reaching the success, and then you're supposed to be expected to be curious and stay positive, and keep going. But I think this is something we're also going to talk about, like reframing the problem. I recently had to do this. I was kind of focusing on the wrong things, and I'm just like, I was feeling unmotivated to do my work and like post content, because I'm like, what's the point? Like, I'm going to fail anyway. I'm not getting anywhere. One thing I came to a conclusion about was that the point of this art that I'm creating, the point of Rosalia singing, is not for other people. Like, and I know that sounds so basic, but sometimes you like subconsciously, you just forget that. Like, the point is not for it to perform. The point is for you to keep that livelihood, like keep that creativity alive and maintain your own livelihood. Like, that's the point. And I think it took me on a chill Sunday. I wasn't doing anything. I was just like editing, and like I do edit for work, but I was editing more like as a hobby, like just for fun. I wasn't going based on my schedule or anything. And I was just like, wow, I feel so content right now. Like, I just feel so wholesome. Like, had a movie on. It was very relaxed in and out of working. And I was just like thinking, I'm like, I have everything I need. Like, of course there's everything. There's so many other things that I could want and need. Right. But like, generally I have a partner, I have food, I can watch TV, I can edit my videos, like I'm good. And I hadn't even put the video out yet. So I was really just in the process of it. And I'm like, this is everything I need. That's something you have to remember, is that like, regardless of the outcome or the success or any results, like this is something you need anyway. And this is something that you want anyway. Like, given her personality and how you were talking about her, like I feel like Rosalia, even if she didn't make it to all these things, she'd be singing anyway. Like, she would be performing anyway, dancing anyway. That's the point. Like, when you focus the problem on how can I be better, or how can I just even be more curious about myself, or understand more of my creation or my art, or like there's a new thing I want to create today, or there's a new style I want to do. That's a better problem than how am I going to be successful at this and like make so much money, or like get me this many followers or whatever. Like, instead of focusing on that, focus on like things that are within your control and things that you can work on, or honestly have no benefit to anybody else but you. Like, that's enough. And like, a lot of times the things that you think they're like, oh, it's only benefiting me. I think that's what actually connects you with a lot of other people. The first thing is, it starts with you. What does it do for you? And then worry about the results or the reaction or whatever. Because I think 9 times out of 10, whatever you're improving on and whatever you're connecting with is what other people are connect with. It's the same.
Yeah, and also I think it's more sustainable when you're doing stuff for yourself, because numbers are gonna come and go, and you cannot control. Like you said, it's out of your control. The only thing you can control is how am I spending my days? Is creativity a part of my day? Where am I putting my energy? Is my energy on creating, or is my energy on overthinking the numbers that are coming into this video or the followers or whatever? That's something that the algorithm controls, not me.
Yeah,
So
I know.
where do I put my energy on? Just, okay, I'm gonna write this scene for this TV pilot, or I'm gonna put the camera and film this video. So just connect to my energy and not let it drain outside of myself, thinking about numbers, subscribers. That's not worth it.
No, it's so not worth it. It makes me think of, because I think we both had periods in our YouTube journey where, and I started my YouTube journey, I think in 2019, and it's 2023. So it's been a while, and we both had points in our journey where I think we were putting our energy in the wrong places. And I know for me, I think definitely comparison and looking at other successful people was a lot of the problem. Like, it started off so fun. Like, I went to a New York trip, and I love New York, and I just wanted to vlog it. I think that was my very first video, and that was very pure. At that point, I hadn't really, like, of course I had been watching YouTubers and everything, but I was just like, I'm just a beginner. So like, I'm not even thinking I can compare. Right. But then at some point it became like, oh, I think I actually want to do this as a career. And then that's when I think when I started to look to other people for examples and started to compare myself, I'm like, okay, once I decided, I think it was somewhere 2021 that I was like, I really want to take this seriously. I was consumed with focusing on how to grow, how to do things that people liked, how to get good ideas that people would click on, and posting on YouTube and filming videos. Like, I always was like, felt like that was a place where I could be myself. But I think I've spent so much time off camera focusing on these wrong things that it prevented me from creating as much as I probably could have. Like, I was very inconsistent, because I would have these lows where I would literally spiral. I would like compare myself to people so long, I would just give up, hate on everyone, spiral, just feel so bad about myself. And it was like I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a bad habit. It was just like this nasty bad habit. Toxic. Toxic. And I did this with Instagram. Like, I have a whole video basically on that. Like, I would just get in these spirals. And in hindsight, literally up until like right now, I'm realizing like that was such a waste of time. Like, if I just didn't even like look at that, how many videos could I have made in that time that I'm sitting here spiraling over somebody else who it doesn't matter? It's like, comparison is so wild, because literally the time you're using to compare yourself, you could be using that time to get better, which would probably make you feel more in line with the people you want to be than if you were to just stop, like if you were just sitting there comparing. So it's just crazy. So
yeah. I always say, like, my favorite quote is, comparison is a thief of joy. Yeah. Because it's just, like losing time watching other people, trying to compare your stage and another person's stage, comparing even like your inner world. Like, no one can express what you want to express the way you're going to express it. Like, if you talk, for example, about being authentic, you're going to say it in a way that I'm going to say differently. And we're going to talk about the same concept, but we've had different backgrounds, different history, and we're just going to talk about that differently. So whatever you share, it's going to be unique to you. So don't compare to another person sharing the same topic or the same concept, because it's going to be super different.
Yeah, and it takes away from your authenticity. That's like the
exactly.
You're not exercising your own muscles. You know what I mean? And then you're wondering why your muscles aren't that big. Because you're not practicing how to be yourself. You're practicing how to be other people. And I think when focusing on other people is not just like, it makes me feel bad, it sucks when I realize this person's not good. It's actually the bigger loss, I think, is not seeing your own beauty, not seeing your own skill or your own craft, because that's what you need to be working on so you can see how it's different. Like, no matter what anyone else does, like, no one can take away from how good your skill or your craft or your art is. But sometimes things need work. Like, you have to work on it so it can become that you see as really cool and different from other people. Like, it needs work. And that's why wasting time on that takes away from, your own, probably your own outcome that you could have, if you just would spend more time on yourself. And I want to talk about your, how you kind of, when you started your channel, you were saying that you had a period where you were I don't know if you were comparing yourself, but you were trying to imitate or replicate like Nathaniel Drew's style.
Yeah.
And how he made videos, and then like what did that end up creating for you? Like how did that dim your light?
So for me, that period that started in 2020 when that was my second attempt at YouTube, and I was in a moment where I was like really consuming his content, really focused on philosophy and trying to like perfect myself and just really copying his routines and trying to like be more this ideal version of myself, but without actually thinking what the ideal version of myself is, but trying to like copy someone else's. So whenever I was filming, I was thinking of videos of like related to philosophy or related to self-development, when that's something that is not super central in my life. Like it has an area, like I read philosophy, I like to improve myself, but it's not like the main thing in my life. But my videos in that time kind of represented that, and it was super draining for me. Like even my friends told me like, you are super rigid in these videos, like it doesn't feel natural. Like we understand what you're trying to do, like trying to be less high energy as in the past, but it's not working. Like it doesn't feel like if we're talking to you in person, like how you would speak or how you would express yourself. So it just didn't work at all, and I actually felt bad with myself, because I was like, why are you trying to imitate someone that has had their own journey when you could actually see your own journey and try to take from that and express yourself the way you normally express? So that's when the mindset shift came of like, okay, if you're gonna spend time in front of a camera, if you're not doing it as yourself, if you like have a video that reaches a lot of people and that's the video that people know you from, I think we talked about this in a recent conversation, like if people are going to know you for that energy or that topic, and that's going to bring new people in the community of like your content, if that's not authentic, that's not going to be sustainable. And you're not going to be able to keep up and show up as that person if that person is not how you are every day. So right now I'm just trying to like, okay, whenever I film, I try to like think, okay, how can I express this in a way that is as natural as it possibly can, and how comfortable can I be, and how at ease can I feel in front of the camera. That's like my work right now, and trying to like not replicate anyone else, just be myself, and the people will come, like the audience will come, and
and then when the audience comes, it's for you, it's for exactly how you are, instead of this curated version of you that you only feel like sometimes. And I think that's a huge point, because you don't want to dig yourself in a hole. Like actually comparing yourself and not being yourself is digging yourself in a hole that you can't possibly fulfill for longer than X finite amount of years, because it's going to get draining. And I think that's why a lot of people get drained from niches and doing content in a certain way. Your authentic self and practicing how to be your authentic self, like it takes time, it takes work, but at least it's going somewhere. Practicing how to be someone else is not going to lead you to them, and it's not going to lead you to you either. So it's a waste of time. But if you're practicing how to be yourself in your own words, in your own style, that's actually going somewhere, because when the audience does find you, they're going to be like, wow, you are so yourself. Like you've mastered kind of how to be yourself, which is something that we're all trying to do over time, because we're changing all the time. So it's like always practicing. You might as well just do it in a way that's natural to you. When you watch your videos now and you watch your content now, what's your style that you see has like emerged from you just practicing how to be you instead of someone else, or comparing yourself and things like that? I mean, I know it still happens, like
but it's a muscle.
Yes,
it's a muscle. I think right now, for example, the last videos that I put out, I'm just really proud of like the topics that I want to share. Of like, I don't know, for me, it's really important to do stuff and not try to be perfect. So like, done is better than perfect. That's like my motto in my description on YouTube. So right now, the way I relate to my content is like, okay, will I want to watch this video? Will I enjoy it? Is it related to how I feel right now? Like, is it representative of how am I relating to creativity? How am I relating to life? How am I relating to myself? Like, is it a part of my life, or am I just talking about something that I feel people will like? I don't want to do that, because then if I'm not interested in what I'm talking, that's not going to be interesting because I'm not
You're
being
not
connected.
there with it. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not feeling passionate about it. So I'd rather do something that feels niche or whatever you want to call it. Like I have a video talking about why movies help us navigate life. I'm 100% sure people will not be searching for that on YouTube. But I had so much fun doing it. I love talking about movies. So I was like, if the audience is not here, do it, because when they come, they'll find this content. And if they gravitate towards that content, they'll enjoy it and you'll be doing what you want to do. So right now it's just, okay, what feels something that is exciting for me to talk about? I'll do that. And if it's not exciting, then I'll just not think about it and not spend time doing it, because where I put my time and energy, that's what grows. So I'm trying to grow in a way that videos come natural to the part of life that I'm at and not like
100%
stuff.
No, I know. I think that's what I tell all the time, like to my older clients, entrepreneurs or people who kind of just don't have time for it. They're like, how do I post? Like, I'm struggling with this. And I'm like, honestly, I think the trick is making your content revolve around who you are. Like, it has to be who you are, what you naturally do, what you want to talk about, because that's something that's an endless well of ideas, an endless well of content is what you are living, breathing, thinking every single day. And every time that comes up, I think the block is like, well, that's not interesting. And it's like, well, yeah, that's where the practice comes in. You have to talk about it enough to where you're like, this is really important to me. I'm noticing a pattern. Like, this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, or that was really traumatic that happened to me, or like whatever. So it's kind of like a self-reflection. That's why I love creating content, because like you are forced to reflect on your own beliefs and practices and like make it connect. If it doesn't connect with your reality and what you're thinking, for you to keep that up and create more, it has to be from a place of authenticity and like removing all this other stuff out of the way. I love how your YouTube channel is literally like it feels like a metaphor for what you're doing and also what you believe in, because you're saying it's done is better than perfect. So literally through the YouTube channel, you are defining the problem and you're solving the problem. So you are putting out the videos, even if it doesn't feel like it's ready, even if you feel like it could be better, even if you feel like, oh, this person has done it better, whatever, like you're solving your own problem. And I love that. It's like meta like that.
Yeah, no, when I was like creating this channel, I was like, okay, what's something that can be my North Star or something that can guide me towards creating? And I think done is better than perfect. It encapsulates perfectly.
Totally.
My energy right now of like, okay, I'd rather post weekly. It doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter if it's not as good as Nathaniel Drew or another YouTuber that I admire. It doesn't matter. I've created it. I'm proud that I was able to show up for myself, that I was able to do something that perhaps a month ago I didn't think I was capable of. And I would rather be creating and learning from the information that I have. Okay, I'm not really good at this type of video, or I don't enjoy this type of editing, whatever that is. So that the next video, I'm in a place where I am more comfortable in the way that I film or the way that I edit. And it's just going to be a muscle that grows with each video. But if I'm aiming for perfection, I'm never going to post. And that's what happened in my previous YouTube eras, that I was never posting because I was comparing myself. I was not seeing the value in what I was explaining. So I was just not creating. And that's what we don't want to do. That's the
worst of all, right?
Exactly.
Like that's the worst case scenario, that you don't have anything to show for that expression or that desire. And I think honestly, now that we're talking about it, like comparison is perfectionism. Like it is like a version of that. And that leads us to my next point, which is basically like, I feel like perfectionism is the problem. And at the heart of us, our lack of creation, I feel like it comes from this the status quo, that idea that there is some right version. And then it's like, okay, how do I become that correct version? And then we're trying to aim for something that doesn't exist. And the reality behind anything that you deem as perfect is that it had a lot of trial and error that you may or may not have seen. And there is no one path to it. So I feel like perfectionism leads us to a few scenarios. One, we never have all the information because we're so focused on the outcome. Like when we see someone who has something we want, or we see an outcome that we like, we're like, oh, to get there, I must do X, Y, and Z. And it's kind of this quick gut reaction that we don't even investigate. Like perfectionism doesn't make you curious. It makes you more rigid. I think it makes you stay in line. And that's not how you're going to get to the creativity and authenticity that you see these like your favorites have, you know?
There's no sense of play.
There's no sense of play. You're not trying to investigate. You have something something in your brain and it's like your confirmation bias is on overdrive. You're trying to confirm what you already believe and you're not curious. And that's the problem. You're like killing all of the information that you could use to get you there because you're thinking there's only one route. You're thinking the only route is C. You're going to disregard A. You're going to disregard B. You're going to disregard D. And then what if like the route for you is like X? And you're so focused on this one that you refuse to look at the other pieces of information. One huge piece of information I was missing, like in my journey, I hadn't gone through anything I wanted to talk about yet. And I feel like that could be the case. I just never considered that because I was so focused on like, oh, lifestyle content is doing well. I'm going to do lifestyle content. And yes, again, like you were saying, there's parts of Nathaniel Drew's content that you resonated with, like his philosophical meaning of life kind of content. Yeah. And for me, there's a bunch of lifestyle stuff I resonated with. I love watching a morning routine. I love watching like how people go to work and dress up for the day. But that's not what I wanted to say. That's not what my message was. And I'm completely missing the mark, literally, because I hadn't even acquired the information yet, because I had to live those 2 years of my life where I wasn't creating to be the creator that I am today. You know, like it was required. So you're missing information. And then one thing that I just like, I hate to see it and I hate when I do it to myself is like, because you're missing the information, you start accumulating unnecessary things. Like you start adding on things that you don't need. So you're wasting time on courses, you're wasting time looking at other people's content, or you're waiting on this to happen. You're waiting on the audience to come to you. You're waiting on you to be in the perfect scenario for you to pitch.
Yeah, the
perfect moment, or I'm just waiting. And that's a kind of defeatist victim mentality. Like, oh, this hasn't happened to me yet, but this person got lucky. And I think the irony is you have to put more out there. You have to fail more. You have to do the wrong thing multiple times before you find the right thing, or you have to talk to 10 people that don't get you nowhere to get to the one person who does. And it's all connected. And you won't see that if you're so stuck on, it has to be right. It has to be this way. This is the only way to do it. And that is like to me, like I can't see a bigger killer of creativity than thinking that there has to be a right way to do something.
Connected to that, I was talking, I think, with a friend recently of like creativity is chaos. So like you cannot envision creativity as a straight line of, okay, step 1, step 2. No. It's like your brain is gonna take things from this thing that you remember from a trip or this thing that you explored with a friend, and then you're gonna put it together and create something new. So if you're thinking in a rigid way, or you're trying to follow the steps that someone else says that worked for them, and that you think that, okay, if this has worked for this person that has X, Y, and Z goals achieved, then that's going to work for me. But no, you have to create your own way.
Yeah.
And as you create, that's going to be your right way, because it's connected to you, you know?
I love that. Yes. And I love that we talked about that. Like there is no other correct way other than your own. Like your journey to it was the right way, because everybody's journey is different. Like if you look at the details of everyone's journey, it's so different. Somebody had the one moment where they talked to a friend that changed their life. Somebody had that one moment where they posted a video and it was a mistake and it was an accident. And that's the one that, got them to 1 million followers. Like everybody has their unique story. So how can you, find your way into your own is that you just have to say like, hey, I'm trial and erroring. I'm going to put this video out. I'm going to make this song. It feels right or it doesn't feel right. And you keep adjusting. But to me, to simplify the creative process in my mind, I'm like, go towards what feels good. Don't go towards what doesn't feel good. Literally just keep doing that. The further and further you get, because I said this in the last episode, but like, I feel like we know more of the answers than we think we do. And we think we have to look externally. We think we have to learn somebody else's style or develop this routine or whatever. That is, again, you're not practicing your authenticity muscle. So you're not discovering your own routine. You're trying to take an example of what's already done. And those can inspire you, yes, but there's no way around the hard part. There's no way around trial and error. And I think the the kind of like bad rep that failure gets is that it sucks. Like the whole time it sucks.
Yeah.
And really you can just reframe it to like, it's you playing. You're just having a good time. Like when kids play, there's no like, oh, you know, this toy sucks, that one doesn't. They just kind of like put things together in a way that like makes it work. And that's literally what we're doing with our life and our art. So and our creativity. So just
it's more of seeing it as I'm gonna explore. I'm gonna give myself the permission to explore, because sometimes we feel like, okay, we need to be gaining money to be able to be creative, because then we can justify that we're creative. But when we're kids, like we're not justifying what we do. We just start drawing or start dancing or start singing because it comes natural to us. And I think, like you said, we have to unlearn. And when we're kids, we know more than we know now. And the process of life is just, okay, let me unlearn everything that they've told me that is right or wrong. Let me hear my voice. Let me hear what I want to say to myself, to others, and let me know myself better and practice my authenticity better, and not think about how I should be doing my life or my creativity, but rather what comes natural to me. So it's back and forth from unlearning, relearning. So a lot of inner work.
And even up until this day, like I recently I think I told this to you, but I realized I don't want to be a coach, and I don't want to be this like kind of like CEO in terms of like I have an agency and I have a coaching business and I teach you about marketing and social media, which I love social media and I love marketing. So it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's obvious for me. But I had to unlearn even that version of entrepreneurship. I'm like, oh, to be an entrepreneur, you have to have something serious. You have to have something like, okay, a little bit of play. But in my mind, I couldn't just be a creator. I couldn't just have a podcast. I couldn't just be putting out my art. Like that was, it wasn't allowed for some reason. And that was a rule I made up. Like I just saw how everyone else did it. And I'm like, oh, everyone who's a social media manager, if they want to start their own business, they just make an agency. They just become a coach and like start selling their own services. So that's the right way to do it. And in that process, like now that I'm like a full-time creator and like really embracing it and really trying to give it a try, I'm like, wow, I'm going to be able to put out so much art this month or over the next few months. Like that wouldn't have, that just wouldn't have happened. You know, I was very inconsistent in those periods where I wasn't creating kind of, but I was still inconsistent like this year because I was so focused on other things. I need to be this person. I need to show up as this person. I can't be too silly. I can't. And I'm just like, I think there's a benefit of pushing yourself and like, why? Like, why can't you? Like kind of pushing the boundaries with your own boundaries. Like, why do you believe that? Where does that come from? Because I think a lot of times if you question where it comes from, it's from a friend or your mom or your dad.
Yeah, surroundings.
You know, people around you, people with limiting beliefs. And if you are getting those ideas from other people, just make sure the people that are giving you those beliefs are people you want to be like, because there's nothing worse.
I think like limiting beliefs is like we're always thinking that other people that are successful or are lucky, like you said before, it's like they have something I don't have. That's also a limiting belief because they started somewhere, put in the hard work, and then they reached X goals. Yes. And they did have to put the hard work. Like we don't see it because it's behind the scenes, but it's there. Right. And like, I think trying to reprogram your limiting beliefs or trying to think that, okay, there's actually a lot more possibilities for my life than what I've been taught or what I've been learning all my life. Like, okay, this is the serious way to be an adult. This is the right way to live your 20s. This is the perfect way to live your 30s, whatever it is you've heard. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, no, the right way is my way, like Frank Sinatra. So like,
how I want to do it. Yes.
Explore it and let yourself explore it and give yourself permission to like, just do it no matter the consequences of like, am I getting money from this? Am I getting an audience? It's just, this is the way I want to live my life and this is my lifestyle. So just put the work, create, and then just be out there showing up for yourself.
Literally, like make that enough. I think what broke the perfectionism bubble for me was that I tested my own boundaries. I was like, okay, so do something bad. Did you die? Like do something that sucks, make a video that sucks, flop on TikTok, do it in front of all the people you know, tell everybody that you are this person and then change your mind tomorrow and then have to re-explain yourself. Like do those hard things and see how you're still alive. you're okay. Things will be fine. Like, you know.
I think that's related. I think I read it somewhere or heard it somewhere that our brain, like, it hasn't evolved as much as we think. Like, we
Yeah.
have the same brain as the people in the caverns. So
Yeah.
we're just reacting to everything, like this fight or flight response. Like you just said, like, if I post a video and it flops, I'm gonna die. And then when that happens, you're like, oh, I'm fine. Like, nothing major happened. It just didn't go well.
Right.
And what did I gain? I spent time creating. I had a good time with myself, with the camera, and I created something that I want to have it live in the internet. So I gained something rather than lose something.
Exactly. And in that process, you probably got better at your craft. You're probably
Mhm.
learning more about it, like your editing software or whatever. Like
Exactly.
those are things that you take for granted until you've done it 100 times. And you're like, oh, I would have never learned that if I didn't fail 1,000 times. If I didn't have all those videos that flopped. And like for me, I was even reflecting on that because it's about to be like a year of me posting on TikTok. And I'm
Nice.
farther than I thought I would have ever gotten, but I'm also not where I thought I would be, right? Yeah.
Balance.
And I was like, yeah, it just sucks. You know, like I was like being negative. I was like, this just sucks. And like, I'm lame. Everyone else gets so much farther in their first year.
Yeah.
You know, I'm saying all this in the podcast because this is how I think too. I'm not calling anyone
Yeah, no, no,
out.
no, yeah.
I'm
I compare
calling,
myself a lot too, so yeah, I understand.
um, and I was like, maybe I haven't reached X amount of followers, but I can for sure tell you, I know how to make a video every single day of the week. I know how to produce 3 videos a day. I know how to make a viral video. You know, like I've done it before. And that's something I can say and keep for myself that like I've gained the skill. My fiance and I watch a entrepreneur. His name is Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you've seen him.
Mm.
He is very like aggressive entrepreneur kind of
Okay.
person, but he has so many gems in like what he teaches and what he knows because he's the kind of person that like fail 1,000 times, like do it until you have failed this many times, right?
Okay.
And so what he says is extremely valid because you know he's put in the work. You know he's done it
Yeah.
before. He's seen the reality. And one thing that he talks about a lot is like you need to do something until it's like unreasonable that you won't be like successful at it. Like you have
Mhm.
to do something so long that doesn't make sense that you wouldn't get better
Yeah.
or that you wouldn't learn from it. He says that a lot with sales. And but you can apply this to anything that you want to get better at. And it's like if you are the person that can do something like that, it's not about you producing X amount of dollars in sales or $1 million, whatever. It's the skills that you learn, like in the process. And he told the story about how when he basically lost everything, he was
Mhm.
kind of doing okay in his business. He was, I think he was like flipping gyms, like making them
Mhm.
better, like gyms around the US. He had a business partner. I think the business partner stole the money from him. I know
Okay.
it was a lot of money, and he had to pay
Yes.
the salesperson that was helping them sell their product. And after the person stole the money and he had to pay this person, he was like at zero, literally, like not even enough for him to put a
To
roof over his
survive.
head.
Yeah.
And so he said that in that moment, I don't know if it was in that moment or this is, him reflecting on the past, that he was just like, I had nothing, right, physically. But over the past however many years, I think it was multiple years he had spent doing this, he said that he gained the skills to know how to make something work, how to make money, how to sell, how to market. And then with the skills he had learned from the past however many years, he was able to go from like $0 literally to, I think it was either less than 6 months later or 6 months later where he made $1 million in 1 month.
Wow. Okay.
I know, right?
The
And
glow
it's
up.
I know. But this story like hits with me because it made me kind of realize like it's not about that's what I'm saying. It's like it's not about the outcome. It's
Yeah.
what you learn in the process. Because we say this all the time to motivate ourselves, but like every successful creator, entrepreneur, if you took away everything they had, they would create the same thing again. Like they'd know how to create it again, you
Yeah.
know?
It's more like the person you become by doing the things than the results you're getting. Because if they take, like, the numbers can go away. Like, if YouTube decides to delete YouTube and just not exist as a platform, okay, if you are a creative person, you'll continue to be that.
Totally.
Doesn't matter how many followers you have, how many subscribers, you'll still be that person in your day to day. But if you are creating from a place of, I need to reach 1K subscribers by the end of the year, like I had this year, which is insane, Not even close. Not gonna happen. But like that mindset was super unhealthy for me, because then I was creating from a place of like, okay, this content has to be well received. This content has to be clickable, instead of, am I enjoying this content? Does it feel natural? Would I repeat this kind of content in the future? So like right now, like, numbers don't matter. I want to be a creative person. I want to create in my life. And that's how I want to be in this world, you know?
Yes, I love that, because like no matter what, even if you got the subscribers or not, even if you got 100 or 1,000 subscribers and someone took it away from you, you would still be somebody who is
Exactly.
capable of getting 1,000 subscribers. The singer that Rosalia is, no one can take that
Yeah.
from her. You know,
No,
even if they
you can take away the Grammys, but she will still belt out in a bar in
really,
Barcelona, and you're like, what a queen, you know? The other thing is external. The internal thing can never be taken away. It's
yeah,
with you always.
it's with you. Yeah, no, I just love that, and I think that's how you kill that mindset. It's really like you don't try to like focus on like, why can't I stop comparing myself? Why do I want things to be perfect? You just
Mhm.
replace it with a better thought. Like you need to
Yeah.
replace it with something that is inspiring. Okay, who's the person I want to become? How can I become better? How can I get curious about my craft? How can I do something I never thought I could do? Like literally, if you're just focused on
Challenge yourself. Like, set yourself a challenge.
yourself,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's,
If
that's what
you,
I'm actually doing.
yeah.
Like
Oh
on
yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, yeah.
I
So like
wanted
on
to talk about that. Yeah.
yeah, my third comeback, I was like, okay, I need some rules
Hmm.
in order to like do the work and not try to be perfect. Because in the past, like you said, I was like taking a lot of time to overthink, and I was not putting content. I was like, okay, I'd rather have some sort of rules, or some sort of like goals that
Hmm.
are like making me create. So I joined a YouTube challenge from a YouTuber who talks a lot about creativity. His name is Struthless, and he's really on the journey of like, okay, I want to create more, and I want to make my community create more. So he created this challenge, and I was like, okay, I'm going to join. And right now I'm on track with everything. I did take a second recovery week this past week, because I was like, I was working full time for one of my clients for freelance work. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna create from a place of enjoyment. And if I don't create this week from a place of enjoyment, what I'm gonna tell my brain is, okay, creating is not enjoyable, and then I'm gonna have friction the next time I film. So I would rather take this week, rest, regain my energy, and then the next week create from a place of, oh my god, it's so exciting to be able to create, and I spend my time creating. So right now I'm on like halfway through the challenge, and it's
So
gonna end. Yeah.
describe how the challenge is set up. I really like how he did it.
So he created rules that you have to title your videos from A to Z. So the first video that I created started with I don't remember the title, but it started with A. So for example, the last video that I did was the letter A. No, I.
Mm-hmm.
I, and it was in my remote work era. So I've been following this like rule that I have to title every video, which also helps in terms of creativity, because you have more constraints, and that's when creativity kind of flows better. And
Yes.
it's like, okay, the next video it's gonna be with Jay. So I need to think, okay, what words do I have with Jay? So right now the next video, which will be live before this podcast is live, it's gonna be joyful quotes whenever like you have dark times or whenever you need them. And it's quotes that actually help me and that have been an ongoing theme in my life, and just showing up and expressing them on a video. It's like also connected to like my idea of like done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
So I'm in the halfway of the challenge. I'm trying to complete it. I think it's gonna end in April, around April
Okay.
2024. So my goal is to like
Good.
reach that completion of the challenge, and then take a break, reassess, see how am I relating to my content? How do I feel about YouTube? How do I feel about my energy when creating? And then I'll decide if I continue with the path of a video a week, or if I change it up a little bit. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. We'll stay
Yeah.
tuned for April. But I really like this. I like this challenge, and I like there was something that Delia sent to me when we were messaging on Instagram about a very inspirational video from. Well, the audio was Greta Gerwig talking about advice she would give to writers, to new writers, and the video was basically her talking about how you should just create more. Like whatever you're doing, just do more of it. It's such a good video. I'm gonna try to link it in the description or somewhere because it gave us both chills.
Really, so
Because
good.
and she's the director of Barbie, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Scriptwriter and director both.
Screenwriter and director of Barbie,
Yeah.
The latest one that went wild. I think that's the only Barbie movie. I'm actually not sure, but
Real life, yeah. The other ones were with like animation.
Yeah. Okay. So super successful, super wise advice. And that's what actually started the seed of this episode for us. And I think it like brought up a conversation that we're always talking about because we kind of act as, I forgot to mention, we kind of act as like each other's YouTube accountability partners.
Yeah.
So we're always talking about creating content, what we're struggling with, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like just it's overrated, the perfectionism and the one way or less is more. I tend to agree with less is more, but there is situations like when you're just beginning something, like more is more. Like you actually need to say yes to a lot more.
There's actually a YouTuber, Ali Abdal. Do you know him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of his like main themes is get started, like create, then get good. But you have to at first get started and then get smart with your content. So like get started, get good, get smart. That's like the process of like once you have the information of how you create, what feels natural, what you need to improve, then you can be strategic or be smart. But you cannot plan ahead, be strategic at first if you have no point of reference, it doesn't make any sense.
That was like my whole journey with content creation. And that's what kind of inspired me to coach people on it, was I just realized that you just have to get started. There's no other way around it. Yeah. And that's why I love the message that you said. You were like, less goals, more creation. And I was like, yes. Like that just made sense. And what you were saying about the challenge was it basically gave you like a goal, right? Like it gave you the structure, but it's not about the goal or the structure really. It's more about that. It's an excuse for you to just create more. And I think something Shaheen and I said, which is going to be I think in our next episode, but like goals are really just an excuse for creative people, ambitious people to do what they already want to do. It just it helps you get there a little faster because it gives you like a reason to do it. But honestly, you would want to do it anyway. It's just helping you do it a little bit more like with bounds. So it feels like
guidelines.
Wild, Yeah, guidelines. There you go. And I think this challenge is so good because it's just an excuse for people to create 26 different videos over the course of a year and
6 months.
6 months.
6 months. Yeah.
Okay. Is that? Oh yeah. That it would be so much faster.
Yeah.
6 months. Sorry. Yeah. And create as many videos as possible. And I love that. And I love that like Greta Gerwig said that, someone who's successful, because when she's talking and we see this video, she's basically just saying, play around, write as many scripts as possible, talk to as many people as you can. Don't like neglect people because you think they're not going to do anything for you. Like there are gems in the little things that you do, the little mistakes, the failures, the videos that didn't do well. Like though you can't get to the end without those ones, like for sure. And I made that mistake when I was creating content in the beginning. Everything was to be perfect, right? Everything was to be super curated. It would take me months to get a video out because I was so focused on like, oh, well, I don't feel good today, or I don't really like that, and it's like it was so focused on, it wasn't like, I don't feel good today, I want to come from a better place of enjoyment. It was like, I don't feel good today because I'm comparing myself to this person and I want to feel like I'm in line with that person. Like it just wasn't coming from a good place. And it would take me so much longer to create videos. I would have less videos. So that means I was getting less practice. That means I wasn't getting better as a creator. And then I was wondering why I felt bad as a creator. Like I didn't feel skilled and cool enough.
Like, oops, surprise.
Like you can't get good at something if you don't have enough practice. You don't have enough data. So that's why you're feeling bad about yourself, because you don't even have information to choose from. You haven't done it long enough. And I like that less goals, more creation phrase, because I think it reminds you that the point is about creating. It's not about the goal. The goal is just your excuse, is just your boundaries or your guidelines for you to do what you already should be doing, right?
Exactly.
Days of the week, you know, like time, all these things. Like it's just the
An
guidelines.
invention.
Get it done.
It's just a way of like, I think, giving structure to
Yeah,
something that's like, creativity is chaotic. It's
it
just a
is.
way of giving it structure and giving it an output where you can actually put to paper if it's a script,
Right.
or put into a video form if it's for YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
it gives you guidelines to create, but the energy of creation is always going to be with you. And if you don't put it out there, it's just going to be dormant, like you said at the beginning. Like, you need
Yeah.
to put it out there, and you just have to create more.
You have to. I think that I finally understood that. It was last year. This is like my 1 year anniversary of creating on TikTok, but it was last year in December where I realized that I was done. I was done with all the rules of content. I was like, I took my hiatus, right? I like had my perfectionistic phase, took my hiatus, and then I was like, I'm done with all the rules. I just want to do it because I want to do it. Like I need to do something with this energy, right? And so I started creating on TikTok, no rules. I was kind of sick of all the rules and should nots, because I'm a social media manager and like I'm the one telling everybody all these stupid rules that I hardly believe. And I finally was just like, I'm just going to do whatever I want, and literally doing whatever I want, like no structure. All I knew, it's funny because that's Vlogmas on TikTok is what gave me the structure. And I was like, I'm just going to post every day for every day of December, and it'll be like my Vlogmas on here. And it was easy because I could just make short, quick vlogs. I literally added no sound. I barely had text, and I just would show like 5 seconds of different parts of my day, stitch it together, and put it out. And people were, I mean, it wasn't like a ton of people, but the fact that anybody was interested in that, it was just me going to work, coming home, watching TV, doing what I normally do, working for my clients, and people would like it. And sometimes they would engage. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And like, I think in a few months I had went from like 700 or 800 followers to like, I think it was like 2,000 or something like that.
Wow.
Like it was a huge jump. And then I would say when I actually by the end of March, I had gotten to like 4 or 5. So it was like a huge jump. And that was all this whole time. There was no intense strategy, niches and content pillars or whatever. I was just
Go with the flow, whatever comes naturally.
going with my intuition, going with what was authentic to me at the time. And that's when I learned, I'm like, oh, we're really overcomplicating all of this. Like we're making it so much bigger than it needs to be. And that's when more was more for me. Like I would put more out, I would get more back. And I just felt like that was, especially as a beginner, you need that, because even if somebody gave you all the rules, right? Because you don't have enough data, you don't have anything to apply it to. So,
Exactly.
and what I noticed is that even if I tried to take people's advice, I wasn't there yet. So I didn't even know where to incorporate it. And if I incorporated it, it would kill all of the growth that was happening. Because at the time when I should have just been doing whatever the hell I want, I could have gone and listened to like, oh, you need a niche. You need to have this pillar. You need to have this pillar. You need to make sure you use this strategy, post at this time. That would have killed all of that creation in the beginning. And I would have never gotten to the follower count that I am today, which has actually made me feel more like a creator than any other project I've done in my life, you know? So it's like, in the beginning, you for sure just need to take off the weight and the pressure of all these rules. Just forget about it. They'll come later. Like Ali Abdul was saying, like strategize when you have information. That's what like analysts do. They analyze data. If you don't have data, there's nothing to analyze.
Yeah. And it's like, I think related to what you said right now, it's like, don't have expectations.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to reach expectations created in your brain or created by society of a lot of like, okay, TikTok has to be created this way. YouTube has to be created this way. Instagram has to be this way. No expectations. Create whatever you want and just put it out there. And yeah, that's it.
That reminds me of, there's this, I think she's like I forgot what she calls herself, but she's like a strategist. She's like pop culture strategist, like influencer strategist. She just basically looks at trends in pop culture and predicts things. Her name is Coco Coco, and she's pretty popular on TikTok. And she is basically saying something that I just felt internally for so long. But she's like, if you're trying to become extremely popular, you need to do what's not working. Like, you shouldn't do what is popular right now, because
it's already popular and they're already doing it.
Exactly. There's already people doing it. And yeah, people want to see it again, but they want to see it in a newer way, right? So like there are plenty of YouTubers that have the same editing style as Emma Chamberlain, right? But they might have a slight twist. Like maybe it's like Emma Chamberlain, but she's like a doctor. And like you don't see that. You never see like an Emma Chamberlain doctor version, right? It doesn't, like, maybe they have similar editing styles and like that quick, snappy, funny, like I'm going to be real and authentic. Like that is trendy. That is popular, but you have to add your own style to it. And that's basically something I've been teaching my clients. I'm like, you stop looking at what everyone else is doing. Your audience wants to connect with you because you're the expert, but you're also yourself. That's what's going to make you different. Because I never subscribed to the idea of like, make your pillars health and wellness and beauty and like whatever. These are just subjects that they don't mean anything to anyone unless you tell them what lens you're looking at it through.
The perspective,
yeah, the perspective. And so Kokomoko is basically saying like David Dobrik, like his editing style, everything, it wasn't popular when he did it. Like when he started it, that wasn't super popular. Like no one did exactly the way he did. And he did it long enough to where people were like, ooh, I like this guy. And then when he started to get the traction, that's when everyone's like, oh, let me edit like him. Let me do what he does, because it became popular. But you don't start with the popular first. You have to do something that's unfamiliar, because there's something that all humans love and crave is authenticity. And it's hard to achieve because not everybody is themselves, and it's hard to be yourself. You see all these options. And then when you're authentic and you're consistent, then I feel like you're entering a whole new world because there are hardly anyone who's like intentional about getting to know themselves. Like it's not hardly, but there aren't as many people who are intentionally trying to get to know themselves, and then they're doing it for long periods of time, the same thing. So if you get to that area, then I feel like that's where you're going to get the success that you're looking for. But it takes you putting out things over and over and over again. And to put things out over and over and over again, you cannot get wound up on this little detail or this little thing or that isn't perfect. Like you can't. There's no room for that, you know?
Yeah, that's gonna make you not post.
Literally.
Everything can be improved. Even Barbie, like the movie, can be improved. Like recently, someone put out a 3-minute clip on Twitter that was like, okay, there's an editing cat here that's wrong. And it's like, yeah, okay, but the movie's amazing. Who cares? It's like, even if every video we put out has a mistake, that's fine. Even the greatest movies have mistakes. So it's like, I would rather create with mistakes than not create. And also going back to what you said about like, even if something has been like talked about, you always bring your own flavor. There was a quote that I read from David Lynch, the director, and he was saying, every screenwriter thinks that every topic has already been explored, and that's true, but it has never been explored by you. So you need to explore that. So even, I got chills. Look. So like,
under my coat, but I got you.
So even if you like the wellness or like lifestyle vlogs have been done, no one is going to do it like Ify, or no one's going to talk about movies like me or about fiction and reality. So it's like, just do it, because no one's going to do it the way you do it.
Right. And this is our only source. This is our only option. Like to get it in your flavor, you are the only option. So it's like, if you're not putting it out, that means like that dream or that idea is literally just hiding somewhere, just sitting in a corner, like alone. It
doesn't exist. Exactly.
It doesn't exist. And it's like, that's what's so sad. And like, I just feel like very passionately about people being themselves, because you just never know what's on the other side of what you can create from what you were already born with. Like you don't have to try that hard. So that's why it's like, eliminate all the excess, because stop consuming all this unnecessary stuff, and then take what you have and practice with it, create more of it, and then use your goals as structures, guidelines, but don't overwhelm yourself and think that that's the reason you're doing it. The reason is because you want to be who you are as much as you can by the end of your life. You know what I mean? Like that's the point.
And also goals can only be reached once. Like once you reach 1K, it's like 5 minutes of your life. But being a creator, it's your whole life. So that's something that can always be with you.
Mm-hmm. No, that's an extremely good point. And like it's like this is like a long game that we're playing.
Yeah.
As a creator, you're playing the long game. As an entrepreneur, you're playing the long game. So the short term strategy is not going to work here. Even if you try, trust me.
Believe me.
And from our conversations, I was really inspired to do Vlogmas this year again, but instead of on TikTok, I want to do it on YouTube because that's very challenging for me. Like it'd be very challenging for me to do like days and days of videos when I'm struggling to get one out a week. And that's something that to me, I can't see a clear outcome other than maybe more subscribers, but I don't consider my Vlogmas to be so special that it's going to automatically get subscribers. So it's really more for me to see what I can do, see if I can be the kind of creator who can post multiple times a week. And by the end of the month, have like 2 digits of videos like done, like 20 videos done. Like I would be impressed with myself and no one can take that away from me. And I think it's so good to cherish goals like that. When you have goals that you don't really care about the outcome, you're just doing it because you like it. Cherish those, hold on to them, protect them because, or even if you don't, if your goal, you feel really like emotionally tied to it and you feel the outcome, just try to get it closer to that. Like it's not about the results, it's not about the outcome, it's about who I'm becoming. And cherish those goals because those goals make you who you are. Like they create different levels of you that you've never seen before. And that's what's cool. Like to me, that's the cool part. And that's what I'm going to do this December.
I'm supporting you from Spain.
Yeah.
International support.
Yeah. And I'm really excited about it. And I think I feel like it's been a 180 because before my creation was very much, it was like super focused on, is this video going to do well? Do people like this or whatever? And now it's kind of like, I just want to create about things I want to create content about. And funny enough, me creating content about things that are actually important to me has attracted more friends, opportunities, and like even clients and stuff, because now the clients I get, if they're inbound, like they just find my stuff, they're exactly the kind of client I would want. Like I don't think that's a coincidence. And like if I meet a friend or I talk to people, they're the exact friend that I like. And I think it's because the more authentic you are, you're showing who you really are.
That energy. Yeah.
You attract the same kind of people back to you. And that's the benefit of just doing this. It's like, if you're more yourself, you're literally only going to attract the things that are like you. But if you're being someone else, you're going to attract people who are that type of person you're trying to be like. And maybe that's not what you actually like. And then you just kind of screwed yourself because now you're attracting the wrong people and you're wondering why you're unhappy. But the most full circle moment is being yourself, having fun. And then you also get to meet other people who are like you. Like there's nothing better than that. And I'm like, if you have access to do that with your art, do it. Like that's what it's for. It's for you to feel good, for you to connect with people, for other people to connect with it. Like that's the point, So yes.
Nothing to add. Perfect.
Yeah, you're like, oh, great.
Don't focus on the outcome, but on the feeling you get from what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think this is someone that an actor said, Joshua Bassett, who's also a singer from High School Musical. And he was like, okay, this is like the biggest project that I've ever done. And probably I'm not going to be doing as big project as this, but I want to remember the feeling and have the feeling of joy and excitement for creating, for being with my community of actors, from creating a song, from just being in a creative space where you are with that energy with other people. And try to remember that feeling for the future. So I think right now, like with Vlogmas, if you can find the feeling that you're getting from creating and have that for the future, it doesn't matter how the videos go because the feeling will stay with you and that's forever.
Yeah.
So that's the end. Like that's the goal, to have those feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like I've heard like a lot of bigger YouTubers or content creators talk about this. They're like, if they could go back to the beginning when they were just creating in their room, no one knew them yet. Because now they know the outcome. So they're like, okay, been there, done that, right?
Exactly.
But if they could think back to the time that they started, or if they could go back to that time, they're like, man, like that time was so pure because I had that feeling, right? That same feeling of I'm getting to create, I'm getting to do what I I love. I have like enough of an audience, like people are responding back to me. Like they say the accomplishments are great. Yeah. But the feeling that they felt at that time is unmatched. Like it's like, I feel like you do have it forever, but it's hard to get it in the form that it just started in, like when you've been doing something for so long. So it's almost like cherish what it is right now, because
Yeah.
it's going to evolve. It's going to grow. It's going to change. Just like you grow up, like your relationship to your craft and your art, it also changes over time. So it's like every feeling that you have, even though it's like the same feeling, it's like a unique at the certain time that you're at. So it's like, this is a special time. Even entrepreneurs say that all the time. Like I have a friend who she was an owner of an agency, and she was kind of like struggling and like going through stuff. And she said her mom, as an older entrepreneur, has been doing this for like years and years and years. It's like, I'm so jealous of you guys. Like this is like so cool, like what you guys are getting to do, all these challenges you're getting to face, because she's like, you're gonna make it, like you're gonna be fine. But like in
the beginning is exciting.
It's so exciting, it's so fun, it's so new, everything's so new. So she's just like, I would do anything to be where you're at right now. And then she was like, what? Like I hate this right now.
Yeah, when we're starting, we're always thinking that the other side, like the successful side or the lucky side, is where the answers are going to be and where we're going to find peace, contentment, joy, etc., etc. But it's actually in the act of doing and of creating that's where we're getting the feeling, and it's not going to be in the future. If we can create it now, then it's what we have.
Yeah, no, I know. I love that so much. I'm trying to I try to remind myself every day. I'm like, you are living the dream already. This is everything you like. The day I was sitting on the couch and editing in peace.
Yeah.
And chilling, it was like, this is it. This is what it feels like to do everything you want to do. Like, yeah, you don't have the stable paycheck and millions of people watching, but you have all the ingredients right now. Like there's nothing else that you technically need. You just have to allow yourself to be like, this is it. This is good. This is exactly what I want, and I'm happy with this. And I try to remind myself of that, which honestly, it's not hard. Like it's not hard to, because I'm very blessed, and I'm happy with everything I have. Talking to my less than 1K, I'm okay. Like I'm good. And I think you just have to you have to remind yourself though, because it's easy to get caught up in the numbers, things that don't matter, stuff like that. So we have a little homework assignment for you guys. So this homework I think it's a fun one, and I think everyone will succeed at this if you try it. The homework assignment for this episode and for this week is for you to do something that you're going to fail at. Yep. Like you have to do something that you have been putting off, something that you've never done before, something big, something small, whatever it is. The goal is to fail. The goal is not to succeed at it. So if you need to update your website and you're not in the right headspace, do it wrong. If you need to edit a video and you've just been struggling on what to say and how to do it, film the video anyway. Do it anyway. I think the point of this challenge is to show kind of that exposure therapy, shock yourself back into it. And remind yourself that it's about the process and about the doing of the action rather than the outcome of the action, because the outcome just gets better the more you do it. So if you want the outcome to be good, you just got to do it over and over and over again. So choose something that you feel like you're kind of scared to do, you're kind of putting it off, and you're feeling your heart is racing hearing this. That's the thing that you need to do. I'm going to do one. Celia's going to do one.
I already have mine.
Oh, you have yours. What is it? Do you want to share?
I'm gonna learn a choreography. I always try to incorporate more movement in my life, like walking, yoga. And I was like, I really enjoyed dancing as a kid. And I'm like, okay, I don't have guidelines. So the best way for me is learn a choreography and try to have rules for me to follow in terms of dancing. So that's what I'm going to do, because I know I don't have coordination for choreography. So I'm going to feel 100%. I'm going to be the TikTok choreography. That's why I'm not on TikTok, because I cannot do the choreography things. No, not for me.
I think mine, I have been putting off my website for
Mhm.
so freaking long.
Yeah, you said that in a video.
It's
I
still
remember.
here. It's still here. Like I've been literally saying this all year because I've been changing direction so many times. I'm like, oh, so
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, let me wait because I'm changing direction. I don't know what I'm a coach now. I'm a creator now, whatever. And I think next week one of my goals is to just make the damn landing page. Just
Let's
sit
go.
down and do it. And yeah, I think that's going to be my challenge because I know it's not going to be the way I want it to be. And I think
Mhm.
that's fine. I just need to do it because a lot of times, if you haven't even got started, you don't get the motivation because you don't know what's exciting yet. You haven't even like sat down to do it until,
Exactly.
it's sometimes like when I'm editing and I'm putting off editing, I finally do it. I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then the next time I am like, oh, I have to edit. I'm like, well, I remember it being fun. So now I'm motivated to do it,
It's like the quote, mood follows action. Like if you start doing it, then you start getting in the motions of like, okay, editing is great. Oh my God, this is super exciting. And then you want to continue doing it. So you just need to start and then your mood will change and accommodate to what you're doing. So just
Exactly.
start.
So just start. Just do something that you're gonna fail at and drop
Exactly.
your failures. I want to see everybody's failures. I'm gonna drop mine. And I'll let you guys see it. I'll let you guys see my terrible homepage.
I'm
I think this,
excited now.
this is gonna be the worst landing page you've ever seen. And you know what? I'm happy because I succeeded at failing. I'm gonna succeed at failing. And who knows, you might be better than you think you are at whatever you're gonna do. So
Yeah, if you don't try, you'll never know. So try
exactly.
it.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been so fun. Celia, thank you for joining us. I love this
Oh, thank you.
conversation. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys' failures and see you next week on the podcast. See ya. Bye.
Bye, thanks.